So, hi everyone. We are very pleased that you came for our talk and our presentation. We traveled yesterday from Stockholm. And we just wanted to follow up on this fire chart that yesterday was about platform engineering and SRE. So I think we would support this debatable conversation here and with our story, the journey we've been through. So I joined Electrolux to lead a developer team to build connectivity platform. As you know, we have appliances, and some of our appliances have a subset that connects to the internet. And then here we are, we have a connectivity platform. This is basically a bunch of backend services, but they do this digital experience.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Colm. I'm also traveling together with Christina yesterday. And I joined Electrolux about 7 years ago. I have been in the domain for quite a while, about 20 years. So starting with development and switching to SRE, and now focusing more on platform engineering and AI.
Yes, speaking of AI, of course, we have backend services that allow you to schedule your appliance, to change the mode and the temperature, but now you can paste the link for any recipe, and there is this AI assistant cooking that making the oven to set up to the right mode, right temperature, right timing, so you enjoy the quality time with your friends, while the dish is cooking and you don't need to watch through the glass.
Yeah, and to support this kind of a consumer experience, it's not that simple. So in our backend, it's actually very complicated. As some of you probably you are familiar with those logos as well. We use multi-cloud and different tools and then different languages to support this.
Yes, and it all starts a while ago. So it was one product, one connectivity platform, and I joined this backend team, and it was very nice.
Yeah, that was a few years ago. It was just one backend, no front end, no mobile app, and different roles between this team. So everything works smoothly.
For a while.
Yes, and then what happened is we started to, because we have consumers in different regions, and we have to collaborate with different regions, and then because of the consumers connecting more and more appliances to our cloud, and also because backend started releasing more and more features, we started to do this, going into this firefighting mode. So sometimes when users or even our stakeholders from each BA, they notice something doesn't work from mobile app, they just send us a message, is cloud down again. Of course, you know, it's not everything about cloud, but they think everything is about cloud. And then what makes things even more complicated is every region or every business is trying to make their own app instead of utilizing the same app. So then we have no control of basically the front-end part. So from back-end, we have to adapt to each app, which makes the logic very complicated.
Yeah, it was the old model when when we released every app to each appliance. So we switched from that, but that's how it worked for a while ago.
And since we are the SRE team at that moment, we have to do providing the infrastructure, also responsible for the main operation of production. And here you can see this is like two kinds of incidents we had before. One is from the American region. They sent us an email asking, is everything not working? And then another one is actually after we, in the EU side, we did a major cloud provider migration. Everything went smooth during daytime, so we were happy. We went back home, but during midnight, at almost like 12 o'clock, things started to doesn't behave well. And what we noticed is the relative CPU usage goes to 100%, and we couldn't resolve this. Actually, it was a quite long night. I stayed till like 4 a.m. and then I handed over to our SRE members in the APAC region in Kuala Lumpur. And then we actually really solved this when the next day at 8 a.m. when developers, they can provide more information about the business logic.
Yeah, because we build those services, right? So we know how to handle them. And while in our organization, backend teams grow quite rapidly. You see, we hired a lot of developers, so we reached at some point like 300 or even more. Then the SRE team didn't grow that much. Why so?
Yes, so there are some constraints to block us to grow. I mean, I think the biggest challenge is we are trying to hire SREs, but it's really hard to find very good SREs from the market. And since we are an appliance company, we are just not a tech company, so to attract those very qualified SREs is also even harder.
But then our life is pretty hard because we need infrastructure up and running. You need to help us with incident troubleshooting. Then we asking you to fill out those, to help us and send you a bunch of tickets and requests.
Yeah, so I mean, very soon our team, the SRE team, becomes the blocker of the organization because we cannot scale up together with the developers, and then we started to figure out what we can do. And the first thing we did is we created the SRE channel in Slack. So you don't need to file ticket anymore. That's chat.
And we started to send messages.
And it was actually a lot of messages, not only for infrastructure. I mean, they can chat about the infrastructure, but for SRE in our organization, we are not this kind of Google type SRE because we are not a tech company. We do infrastructure, we do production, operation, we do developer tools, maintenance, we do user onboarding. So a lot of requests that doesn't belong to SRE actually comes to our team, and we couldn't. We couldn't provide all the support at a very fast time.
Yeah, from developer perspective, it feels like a black box. We're sending this request, nothing is happening for a while. How we're supposed to write our code and provide more backend services?
So then we thought about this. So SRE, we know this toy concept. So we need to remove those manual work. So we started to do a lot of automation scripts that can speed up our work, our teamwork. And then with automation, it helps. Of course, we switch to infrastructure as code. And then to create a new infrastructure is much faster. Then also integration with different tools, cloud providers, which can be done. But this automation is still kind of limited, restricted to SRE team. So we still go through this ticketing system. Someone goes to Jira, file ticket. We take the ticket, goes to our queue, and then we do it one by one. But is that, that can speed up things, but still people are waiting for their tickets to be closed. So we started to brainstorming what we can do.
Yeah, and I actually took this picture because I joined brainstorming. I thought, consumer, I want to bring the experience, the suffering that we are dealing with, and ended up actually joining the SRE team. Because I thought, if I cannot win them, then I need to join. And yes, so the first thing that we did, we built the internal developer platform.
Yeah, so after our brainstorming, we thought we should provide some kind of system instead of through this ticket. Developers should be able to get something on their own, so we don't need to spend our time to repeat this work. And then one day, Christina mentioned, are we going to build our own IDP? So actually, I have no idea what IDP because I'm a SRE, right?
I Googled it. I didn't know either.
But later on, we learned about the IDP, and actually that was also the time when Backstage launched what was launched by Spotify, open source by Spotify.
Yes, so what was done is that we took UI from Backstage, nothing more. So it's only the front-end part that you see. The whole backend was written by SRE team. And what is needed here is example of how EKS provision is happening. So from developer perspective, you only need to put small amount of variables. Everything is done purely from UI. You don't need to be worried at all because these templates are usable. They're written as infrastructure as a code by our team, so we ensure that it's secure, that it's embedded observability, so you will right away get your metrics and everything. How does it work under the hood?
Yeah, so under the hood is SRE team. We actually spend a lot of time to learn about every piece of infrastructure that the developers needs to remove the overhead for their learning. So it's kind of the golden path that every session mentioned, but we try to embed not only the infrastructure and also the integration with our observability. For example, when you deploy services into Kubernetes, how does the logs or metrics goes to our monitoring system? No one cares. No one should care, because it's embedded in the template. So we craft each template and then put them into our IDP, and later on for developers, they only need to choose very limited minimum input, and then we use Terraform to provision every infrastructure, and then it's fully self-service, and they don't need to file any ticket to us.
And more of it, developers don't need to be Kubernetes experts, and we need it a lot because all our backend is written as microservices, so you know the drill. And this is another example of developer experience we started to provide, that you can see that there is a version management node in control, so you know who from your team did what via UI. Again, then you have metrics, as we mentioned, metadata, approval flow, so no infrastructure would be spin up unnecessary, or like maybe the wrong instance type was chosen. And this approved by the team, not by us, by the way. And then we have a cost observability tape here, just to, sometimes it's hard to go to the cloud provider and open a different tab and see how much does it cost to have your service up and running. So we thought we put everything together in our internal developer platform. And this is a change. So we launched it we launched our ADP in March 2023. And this is a slide that I did to report in December. So instead of those manual ticketing, if we would do it manually, we would spend like the whole year for providing infrastructure, basically. And then instead, we can see through logs like how much it is to create the same amount of resources. So it's just a few days.
And we understand the infrastructure is the beginning journey of our developers. They only need the infrastructure to run their services. So the core part is actually the application, not the infrastructure. So we started to talk to them, started to understand what they need. And then now, as you can see in our IDP, we offer not only infrastructure, we also provide integration with their microservice. So for example, when they create a microservice from IDP, then it's kind of also like a template. It will set up the things that other services would need in our organization.
Like repo, pipeline,
yes,
everything.
And also integration with our monitoring system. And then last part is the cloud cost. The cloud cost is something comes actually interesting afterwards, because we provide this autonomy to our developers, but then we started to notice the cloud cost started to increase a lot, because everyone started to create a different infrastructure.
But it also was a mistake from UI, actually, because we put as a default value the big instance. So obviously no one has checked, and everyone just like next, next, next. So it was like quite a mistake from like product management mistake, if you want to say so. And what happened next is a culture shift, which we didn't expect, to be honest, because first of all, developers started to be curious about infrastructure. So it's no longer a black box. They could see the tree view. They can see, okay, this is VPC, this is a networking, this is how everything is connected in my project. So it became like more visible for them, and then it started to drive the curiosity. So they started to own the responsibilities of infrastructure more in terms of troubleshooting when something had happened. The second thing is also a bit weird, but even the product manager can kill the pod now and restart the service. So it's done via UI. So when something is happening not right, then it's also possible to check the logs and go there. And the last thing, I think, is the most peculiar one, because a few people, 3 actually, has joined Gang's team.
Yeah, that was a bit not expected, of course, but then we actually, 3 of our very good backend engineers, they started to join as a platform engineer, and they work with our platform today.
Yes, because we probably make it so accessible for them. So then platform as a product we started not in 2025, but I think it's easier to explain what we've done. So we took this SRE Slack channel as a data source for all the proactive changes we would love to do, because we see what developers ask, so we know what they need. And we also changed the model of thinking in our team. So instead of just jumping into the request in the SRE channel, we ask our developers to think, not developers, but SRE engineers to think, can you think of the feature that would actually help them to do it without your help? And instead we started to introduce more feature in the platforms. Then we started to publish product roadmap, so we would not overlap with the things that backend teams sometimes also develop in tools, so we didn't want to step on each other's feet. And then we started to run surveys, asking, like, are you ever been blocked? Have you ever been blocked by SRE team, and what is still not good enough? Then we started to do developers interview to ask about experience with internal developable platform, what is missing, what is needed. Marketing research. I do research market before we decide are we going to build something or buy. Quite a lot. And then we have demos, not that frequent as our product teams, because developers, they release backend features, or especially if it's mobile, quite often, but we do demos when we have something to show, and usually it's pretty long ones. So the next thing I wanted to show is the FinOps tools that we've built based on the Backstage. And there was a moment when we realized that we actually want to generalize things a lot. So the tool that we've been using internally, we decided to open source it. And this is a very simple thing. Like, I think all the FinOps solutions do this, but there is a billing API to fetch the cost information from all cloud providers, and we just wanted to know it. We did the research. We realized, okay, we probably need to build it because it's so simple. And then remember, you went on this DevOps talk in Stockholm.
Yeah. I was one day I was attending some conference in Stockholm, and I was sitting listening to some talk from IKEA, and I noticed the person who is seated in front of me is trying to set up an info wallet. So this is actually the first time I actually meet a real end user. And then we spoke afterwards.
Not the first time, because all developers are end users, but it was
external one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was huge, and it was really huge because the amount of downloads was so big. I'm so proud of it as a product manager, but we use it internally. We gave it away to the community, and we get such a positive feedback in terms of contribution. So it was very nice. So
yes, and as our team started with infrastructure, and then now internally we grow it as like an internal platform, we would like to also following this generalization and open source approach to see what we can do. So we started to think about infrastructure, what we can do, and we decided also to build this open source project called Invocation from scratch, and because the original one was kind of based on Backstage, but this one is decoupled.
And also tied to AWS only, and with multi-cloud. We needed to support Azure, GCP. So.
Yes, so then we have to, when our team started to think about open source, as you know, when we developed something from internally, we only focus on what our organization needs, and their request is a bit simpler, easy to address. But then when we talk to the wider community, we understand different needs will be required by different organizations and different purposes. For example, the IDP that you saw from our quick demo is kind of the UI approach, right? For developers, they can create infrastructure through the UI without writing code. But when we talk to other developers, some developers, they said, I would like to be more code-driven. So now with the new approach, we have to adapt both. We need to provide both UI and also the pull request process. And that's one example. And then another one is a different integration we have to provide. Maybe different integration to cloud provider, or maybe different Git system. So that's very good for our team, because when people now started to design systems, they think a bit different than focusing what actually our organization is. They started to think, can we do something generalized, which means the layer actually of this abstraction is becoming thinner.
Yes, and it's also very rewarding to get back from the community in terms of contribution and feedback. But also, when we did those developer interviews, people all the time complained about user experience. So we are not front-end engineers, but we did our best using AI a lot, I would say, for designing. And then this is another example how we work today. So we generalize our IDP, convert it into InfraKitchen, and started to migrate into this. So how do we measure the results of the change? Of course, first and the easiest thing to measure is the amount of those requests that we receive in the SRE channel. The only amount, honestly, I wanted to change this slide, but to write the quality of those requests, because now when developers are more familiar with infrastructure, they ask more, like questions became better because they managed to do most of the things themselves. Also, how long would it take to deliver new service and create resource? This slide I showed you, but like with the time being, we managed to get even faster. Because when we worked with IDP, the previous version of InfraKitchen, then we were tied to AWS only, and we still needed to provide a manual support for Azure and GCP. So how long it will take to identify the issue? We do provide also other tools, like AI-assisted troubleshooting, and we build different kind of platforms to connect with InfraKitchen and then have it like in the ecosystem. And good rate of developer experiences actually should be the first one, because we still do the surveys and we ask them, again, same questions, are you ever blocked? Do you need anything else from the platform? That's only how we can get this information in clear way. So let's summarize.
Yes, so as you can see, we started with one team, one simple product, everything was fine, and then things to grow and started to do more about firefighting. We started to also decouple the teams. We have a dedicated SRE team, dedicated developer team, and the SRE team focus on the operation, infrastructure, and automation.
Yes, and then we decided to try to go with a self-service approach. We knew that it's going to be, as everyone said in previous talk, opinionated system, because we provided this very predefined kind of hard-coded templates for only those infrastructure services that are being used more frequently. But that's what we did, and we noticed a very positive change, and we also free ourselves a lot to do much more. And that's how we ended up with building platform as products. So we started to act as a vendor, considering the need of our organization and also talking with the wider community to understand, okay, what is going to be next? Because sometimes people are a bit ahead of what you're doing in your organization. So we thought of it as a kind of clever approach to do it this way. And then we started to open source the solutions and get the feedback from the community.
Yeah, so for the last few years, we focus a lot on SRE, and now we switched a bit to platform engineering, but we are still the same team. I mean, some people, they call us SRE team. Now, actually, officially, our team is platform services. We even renamed the team, but it's the same group of people, and Slack channel is still called SRE.
Yes.
Yeah, so SRE, everyone knows SRE, and then there are different approach to scale SRE to the organization, but for us is a challenge due to the resource limitation. So we cannot grow engineers because we cannot hire that enough engineers, but we try to solve this in engineering approach. So now we are platforms. We try to remove those knowledge learning curve for our engineers, for our developers, because now it's kind of embedded. Some of them are embedded into the platform, so that when they use the platform, they got it for free. They don't need to even think about this.
Yes. So if you think something of this is relevant, we would be happy to connect on the LinkedIn. We are not super active on the LinkedIn, to be honest, but still, if you think that this presentation ring a bell, then just connect with us. We would be very happy to talk. And then, as I mentioned, we do open source. It is very officially. You cannot imagine how many struggles we've been through just to overcome the bureaucracy, because Electrolux Group is a big company, so of course it's not tech, and we need to explain a couple of things. And yes, So you can scan this QR code as well, or just find us in GitHub. Then we will meet there, and yeah, probably maybe you will try some of these things. Yes, and there's also docs for InfraKitchen, as it's not released yet, but it's going to be next week, I guess. Yes, so that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.